Hello, welcome to Planet Terra Art. I'm Tara, and this is my art project, my art and fact project. Well, I have a few art and fact projects. That's my thing. So this is a mini doc that I put together about the true history of Harriet Tubman because according to the National Park Service, we've been getting some things wrong. Like number one, okay, so the first myth that is Harriet Tubman rescued 300 people in 19 trips. They're saying that Tubman rescued about 70 family and friends in approximately 13 trips. So why would Sarah make this such an exaggeration? And it looks like it was really to sell more books. I really thought it was like, oh, is this the magical Negro or to scare some white folks? But it seems like ultimately she was writing this book to it's like a fundraiser for Harriet Tubman, as well as, of course, it raised her own profile as well. And these larger than life stories really sold books. They didn't have internet to go verify anything, so that makes sense. And while I was also sort of shopping around, if you will, for information, I found the name of Secretary of State William Seward. I thought that was interesting because he was also attacked when Lincoln was shot and killed. I believe he was stabbed though. But yeah, he survived his attack, whereas, Lincoln did not. But yeah, he was a Republican that actually tried to help Harriet Tubman get her pension, her military pension, and he was an abolitionist, and his house was an part of the Underground Railroad and so forth. Thought that was really interesting. So I knew other things about Seward, but I did not know his abolitionist history. Oh, and get this, Harriet Tubman was into real estate, honey. She owned a home that Seward sold to her. I thought that was cool too. All right, myth two. Harriet Tubman had a $40,000 bounty on her head. In fact, she had a $100 bounty on her head, as well as she ran away with her brothers. So there was two, $100 for each of them. So $300 total. Why did she exaggerate? Again, it appeared that she was just trying to raise her profile to help garner support for financial aid. Sally rather, she was an educator of African Americans and she supported anti-slavery movement and so forth. But I don't think she sold any books, but she was trying to ultimately help Harriet. So, cool. All right, number three, Harriet Tubman rescued people from all over the South. Oh, this is where it gets good for me because this is the main thing. All these other things are relatively new to me, I must say, but this whole idea of Harriet Tubman going all over the South, just, yeah, it makes so much sense that it was actually, she went back and focused on her family and friends, and then she also did and she went to familiar places. That makes so much more sense when you really think about it, because the truth of the matter is, if everyone had done just that, oh my it would be crazy. It's like each one teach one. Everybody was just been exodus out of there. It would have been something else. Like, I don't know how that would have been, but the courage that it took just for her to do what she did for family and friends. For her, she risked her life for family and friends, and it makes sense that she didn't just, I don't know, go back and risk life and limb and everything for just people she 100% didn't know. So I like that. And honestly, more than even the exaggeration and the bounty and exaggeration in how many people, because 300 is a lot, that was that was the most egregious, that she went all over the South into these unfamiliar territories. It sounded like she was, yeah, that sounded even more magical than the other exaggerations, but still nonetheless like this whole big mythos, and she deserves the mythos. She is legendary for what she did do, and I don't think it needed to be pumped up or added on to. She did enough, and she did more than probably most people who ran to freedom did. How many of them actually went back? Maybe they just didn't have the skills to, so I'm not going to say that they didn't want to, didn't think about their family, but it is what it is. All right, myth number 4, Harriet Tubman used the quilt code for the Underground Railroad. So they're saying she didn't use a quilt code because there was no quilt code. What? Of course there was a quilt code, right? I guess not. I wasn't there, but still, I'm really surprised by that. I just really believed in the quilt code, and I thought that was like this whole beautiful thing. I guess that's just some more mythos. I don't know where that proliferated from or whatever. What's fact, what's fiction, but yeah. And then yes, so they go on to say she actually relied on natural phenomena, songs, and disguises, and one of her disguises was dressing like a man. Yes, honey. So she would do whatever. I put the fake bit on her, just kind of having fun with this, but I don't know exactly what she did, but that's one of the things that she did. You had to do what you got to do. Wow. Yeah. So moving on. All right, myth number 5. Harriet Tubman sang certain songs as signals on the Underground Railroad. Okay, so those certain songs, if we go all the way to the bottom here, was like follow the drinking gourd. So she's like, I didn't do that. A drinking gourd, I believe, is the Little Dipper or the Big Dipper, or one of those, something like that. But she instead sang Go Down Moses and Bound for the Promised Land to signal safety. Um, yeah, so that's that. So Drinking Gourd was not on her playlist, so moving on. All right, moving on to myth number 6. Harriet Tubman carried a rifle on her missions. No, she carried a small pistol for protection during her rescues, and she actually carried the rifle, a sharpshooter's rifle, during the Civil War. Yo, she was a part of the Civil War. I'm going to get into that in another video. That's for me the real mini doc. But anyway, yeah, I did not know that. And the small pistol makes perfect sense because when she's out there, with the folks that she's rescuing, her passengers, she needs something that she can hide and tuck, and when she's out there disguising herself, that she needs something that she needs to be able to disguise that pistol as well. And baby, she had that gun disguised and packed away, I'm sure, but when she needed to pull it out, she whipped it on out. I say, well, yes ma'am, Miss Ross, she did not play, so yeah. Moving on to myth number 7. All right, myth number 7. Harriet Tubman's birth name, Araminta, is African. In fact, Araminta is an old Puritan name. That's why I called her AKA Ms. Ross in the title, by the way, because her name was Araminta Ross. But Araminta does sound African. I would have thought it was African too, though, straight up. Like, if I didn't know any better. And if I met a white woman now with the name Araminta, I would think like, oh, that sounds like a black name to me. So who knows, But yeah, so, and her nickname was Minty too. So Miss Minty Ross is it not and it's Puritan. Both black and white ladies have that name. It is not African. All right, so myth number 8. Harriet Tubman had 11 brothers and sisters. Court records show that she had 4 brothers and 4 sisters, and then there were 2 nieces. So it didn't even total up to 11 siblings, even if you add the nieces, but she did see the nieces as sisters, so there was family nonetheless. Yeah, and I will be getting more into particularly the brothers. Yeah. Child. But yeah, so everybody can't be Harriet, but yeah, when she tried to rescue. All right, myth number 9. Harriet Tubman was forced to marry John Tubman. All right, so The fact of the matter is, marriages weren't forced by slaveholders. Marriages specifically, they were into forcing sex. Okay, they didn't care about love and marriage, love and marriage. They cared about make me some babies, get me some more free labor. So that makes perfect sense. And I'm sorry, this is terrible. A free man of the day, I bet that had to be the high value man of that day. That a free man, yeah, that had to be the catch. So go ahead, Harriet. Oh, and let's be clear. We don't, because of the times and certain things, we don't know if she truly wanted a man or not. Like I wanted, to be married or what have you. But being married for women in those days was a lot of it was a means to an end. It was a means for survival. So when I give that little atta girl to Harriet, it's not about, oh yeah, girl, you got a man. It was really more about when she got one, she was like, I'm gonna go get me one of these free ones. So I'm like, go off, Harriet. That's all. All right, so myth number 10. Harriet Tubman was born around 1820 on Edward Brodess's farm. In fact, recent research suggests that she was born in 1822 on Anthony Thompson's plantation and then later moving to Brodess's farm. And that Brodess story is pretty interesting. And the mom and what Harriet got from her mom, and just, oh, I'm so excited to do my next video, just more centered on Harriet. But yeah, so Anthony Thompson, I promise you, I said, oh my God, is that a black guy? Like, because they did have black plantation owners and slave owners back then. And there was a famous one named Anthony Johnson, but Anthony Thompson didn't appear to be black. Yeah, so moving on. Myth number 11. Jacob Jackson operated an Underground Railroad safe house. Okay, Jacob Jackson was a black man, free black man. And according to National Park Service, they were friends or they were a confidant. He helped her through coded letters, but there's no proof that he actually sheltered runaways. I mean, who knows? I'm sure he would have been under increased suspicion to have done so because he was black and free and he had a house. I mean, so it could be. And then, too, it's safe to say that just because he's a man doesn't mean that he was ultimately courageous, because I'm not familiar with them, but, not a lot of people did what Harriet did. So who knows? But he did help her with the coded letters, and that took courage. But according to National Park Service, no, according to ChatGPT, that he, that he did have a safe house. That's what, so more fake news. I don't know. I'm not sure what to say about that. Bonus. Okay. So the first part of this we already know. Now, we also know her by the name Harriet and not really Arminenta. But why? Okay, so it's a deep reason why it the Harriet Tubman thing just got deeper for me. I just finished listening to Minister Jew and Noble Lampu. They did a live tonight, and Noble mentioned Harriet Tubman. And I take that as a signpost that the direction that I'm going with this, I'm in the right place. So stay tuned for the upcoming video. So what you're seeing now is the concept for the calendar card set. And I also have a concept for the calendar book. But the cards, really the idea is for the month to be able to be torn off at the end of the year, end of the month, however you want it. And you have like a set of flashcards or a book, so there's always intrinsic value. And they are designed to coordinate, educate, and decorate. Coordinate is the calendar, educate is the stories, and decorate is the art. So which one do you like best? Do you like the card calendar set where it's like the bird, free bird, or do you like the book, You can put it on your arm and run with the information, run for freedom. Best. Thank you so much for watching. I do have a store on Etsy, the Instagram. And so, yes, please, thank you for watching this. Please stay tuned. And I really aim to go deep and maybe even